Hello, everyone. The article I selected for my individual reading and review is The Neuroscience of Romeo and Juliet, an fMRI study of acting. Today, I will review this article with the following three subsections: summary, critique, and potential research questions that I can develop. In the summary, I will introduce the purpose, methods, as well as the findings of the article. In the critics section, I will talk about both the strengths and weakness of the study. And in the research development section, I will think from this current study as well as from our group project. Okay, let's first take a look at the purpose and hypothesis of this research. The ultimate goal of the study is to determine the extent to which acting takes advantage of the well-characterized brain network for theory of mind via comparing the fictional first-person perspective and the third-person perspective conditions. Given the previous study, the authors hypothesized that the fictional first-person perspective would show an intermediate level of the activation in the ventromedial prefrontal cortex compared to the first-person and third-person conditions. And there would be relative activation increases in the fictional first-person perspective condition in areas involved in character pretense. The method part. The participants recruited by this study are 15 actors from the theater majors at McMaster University. Because of the restriction of fMRI, the actors are trained to act with psychological approach rather than gesturing and facial expression. During the experiment, they are required to complete tasks of hypothetical questions in 4 different conditions: first person, which is the self; third person, which is the theory of mind; and the British accent, which is an interesting condition, as well as the fictional first person, the Romeo and Juliet role in the fMRI scanner. After the data acquisition from participants, the researcher used the Brain Voyager to analyze the data. The main finding of the study is that acting led to the activations in brain areas involved in self-processing with a focus on the dorsal medial prefrontal cortex or superior frontal gyrus and ventromedial prefrontal cortex, indicating the acting behavior might be a suppression of self-processing. They also revealed that the most acting specific deactivation observed is in the dorsal medial prefrontal cortex or the superior frontal gyrus. An interesting finding is for the British accent condition that a similar deactivation pattern occurred when acting during British accent condition to the third person condition, which might indicate that the gestural mimicry of even a completely unspecified other has an impact on brain areas involved in self-processing. Then we turn to the main part of this presentation, the critics. First, we talk about the strengths of the study and the article. Generally, the article is very well written and very organized, which is friendly to readers, even the beginners. The statement and analysis in this article is very lucid and clear. Second, the experiment is a within-subject randomized experiment design, which makes the study solid and statistically powerful and avoids the other effect. Third, the design that breaks the restriction of MRI experiments by converting gesturing and facial expression to psychological approach towards getting into character is very innovative and efficient to conduct. Additionally, the comparison of fMRI study, the data analysis of fMRI among different conditions is very comprehensive, and the relative expression, especially for the perspective changes, is solid and consistent with the hypothesis. Next, I'll talk about weakness of the study. The first weak point is coming from the condition of the British accent. Given that participants are asked to give a response covertly without vocalization, although all of the participants were able to create a British accent during the pre-session training, We cannot guarantee that they use the British accent during the task. Thus, if changing the task to non-covertly or introducing another measure to test the British accent, it would increase the plausibility. The second weakness is about the temporal resolution considered in fMRI data analysis. The brain activity is stimulated 1 to 2 TR later after seeing the question stimulus. Thus, usually the researchers who was doing fMRI study will rely the time resolution by each trial. However, there's no clue showing that the authors employ such techniques throughout the processing or the analysis, which somewhat damage the credibility of the results. And another weakness of the study is the stimulus. All of the participants are theater major with acting training on Shakespeare's play. Although this might be helpful for participants to get into the role easily, it also brings a risk that they might blur the character with a close third person and generate similar brain activities with third person conditions. And next, I will develop my own research given this current study. First, I want to mention several limitations this study has. First, although it is really innovative and efficient to use psychological approaches to replace gesturing and facial expression, it cannot perfectly represent the brain activity of the actors during the real performance. So I'd like to say, if the future study can take advantage of some technologies like VR to simulate the real performance environment, we can check whether the results are different from the current one, which will be better to test. Another limitation is mentioned in the weakness part. The roles of Romeo and Juliet are too familiar to participants and might blur the perspective of third person and fictional first person. Thus, adding another condition of some other roles that are not familiar to participants might decrease the potential weakness. This study is also a good starting point for our group study on the effects of art engagement on the social brain. Participating in drama creation with different perspectives for untrained individuals in acting might also generate different brain activities, including the TOM network of affective feedback. Additionally, turning focus on nucleus accumbens, which is credited as an area reflecting the affect, or anterior insular, an area for empathy, which indicate like pro-sociality of individuals, to test whether such experiments generate different brain activities on social brain. Also, we can consider the brain activity with thinking under different person perspectives when attending various types of arts. These are all related to our group project and interesting to get further explored. Okay, this is all about my individual reading. Thanks for watching my presentation.